Have you ever found yourself betrayed, hurt by the very people you trusted, only to watch as they turned around and painted themselves as the victims? It's a scenario many of us are all too familiar with. The sting of betrayal, the shock of deception, and the heartbreak of realizing that those closest to us were plotting against us. But here's the truth. While they may have tried to twist the narrative, God saw everything. He knows the truth, and He is the ultimate judge. In the Bible, we see countless stories of God's chosen ones who were wronged, attacked, and betrayed. Yet God always had their back. Take, for instance, the story of Joseph. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and left to suffer in Egypt. But what did God do? He turned what was meant to destroy Joseph into a path to greatness. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph said to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Do you ever wonder, could the pain you've gone through have a similar purpose? Could it be that God has a plan to turn your betrayal into something greater? Now, consider how those who wronged you might try to make themselves out to be the victim. It's an age-old tactic. Just as the Israelites faced opposition, even from within their own camp, God's chosen ones have often been forced to defend their integrity while others twist the truth. Psalm 37:6 tells us, "He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun." God's justice is always on time, and when the truth is twisted, it is He who will reveal it. But here's a question for you to ponder. When you were wronged, did you find yourself questioning God's timing? Did it seem like the wrongdoers were getting away with it while you endured the pain? How do we reconcile the silence of the righteous in the face of injustice? Could it be that God's plan is unfolding in ways we can't yet understand as He works behind the scenes, preparing something greater for us? You see, the world may try to manipulate the situation, but the truth will always come to light. Galatians 6:7 warns us, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." What they sowed in darkness, God will expose in the light, and the justice they deserve will come to pass. So, if you're feeling betrayed or falsely accused, know that God sees your heart and He will vindicate you. Your enemies may try to rewrite the narrative, but God is writing your story, and no one can undo His plans for you. The question is, are you ready to see how God will turn your pain into purpose? Are you prepared to walk into the blessings He has waiting for you, even when the world tries to say you're the one in the wrong? Stay with me as we dive deeper into this topic and explore how God always protects His chosen ones, no matter how dark the path may seem. Chosen ones, they did you dirty, but then tried to play victim. God saw everything. You knew they did you dirty, and yet they had the audacity to play the victim as if they were the ones wronged. But hear this clearly, chosen ones. God saw everything. He witnessed every deceitful act, every lie they whispered, and every scheme they spun to twist the story in their favor. They may think they've gotten away with it, but what they don't realize is that God had already warned them. He knew what they were planning, and the consequences are on their way. The Bible speaks to us about the moment when the wicked think they can escape the truth. In Psalm 94:7 it says, "They say, 'The Lord does not see, the God of Jacob takes no notice.'" How often have you felt like your enemies believed they could escape the eyes of justice, that they could carry on their deceit without consequence? But just like in the days of the Israelites, where God saw the wrongdoers, He sees everything now. Their time is coming. Justice is not a matter of if, but of when. But this message is urgent because the time for reckoning is near. While they may still be trying to paint themselves as the victims, God already knows the truth. He sees their hearts, he sees their actions, and he sees their attempts to destroy you. They set traps for you, spreading lies, poisoning your reputation, trying to turn the world against you. These weren't just idle rumors. These were deliberate efforts to make you out to be someone you're not. Have you ever felt like your integrity was under attack, as if the very people you trusted were conspiring behind your back to break you down? The whispers they sowed weren't just words. They were weapons, designed to wound your soul and tarnish everything you've worked for. They wanted to destroy your name, to make you seem untrustworthy, unreliable, and even dangerous. Think back for a moment. Has someone ever tried to paint you as the villain, even though you knew you were the one who had been wronged? They went so far as to try to burden you with false accusations, to place a permanent stain of shame upon you. They were hoping that their lies would stick, that people would believe them, and that they could mark you with guilt that would last a lifetime. They wanted to take away your peace, your sense of self, and your dignity. But here's the truth. It didn't work. Just like the story of Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers and falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, God was watching. They tried to destroy Joseph's reputation, and they thought they had succeeded. But what did God do? He lifted Joseph up, and the very ones who betrayed him ended up bowing before him. Genesis 41:46. Could it be that God is preparing to raise you up in the same way? Just as Joseph's enemies faced the consequences of their actions, so too will those who try to harm you face God's justice. The attacks didn't stop with your reputation. They went deeper. They targeted every aspect of your life, your relationships, your peace of mind, your sense of security. Have you ever felt like you were being pushed to the edge, like the world was turning against you, and you had nowhere to run? They whispered lies to those closest to you, trying to sever the bonds you had with people who truly cared for you. Their goal was clear: isolate you. They wanted to break your spirit, to make you feel small, and to make you doubt your worth. They tried to make you question your own decisions, your faith, and your integrity. The more they spoke, the more they tried to create a web of deceit around you, trying to trap you in their lies. But here's something important for you to remember. God sees it all. In the midst of the whispers and the rumors, He is your protector. He sees the lies that have been told and the harm they have caused. Just like when David was pursued by King Saul, who sought to destroy him unjustly, God did not abandon David. He saw every injustice, and He delivered David from the hands of his enemies. In 1 Samuel 24:12, David says, "May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord avenge me against you." Do you trust that God will fight your battles for you, that He will be the one to bring justice? The lies may have hurt, and the betrayal may have shaken you, but know this: God is with you. He will expose the truth, and those who tried to destroy you will be left to face the consequences. For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, nor is anything secret that will not be made known. Luke 8:17. So take heart, chosen one. The story isn't over yet. They may have tried to play the victim, but God saw everything, and He is about to make things right. But chosen ones, hear this: no matter how deep their deception runs, the truth always finds its way to the surface. What they failed to understand is that in their attempts to destroy you, they only revealed more about themselves. The lies they told to tarnish your reputation, the false narratives they wove to paint you as the villain, these were not just attacks on your character. No, these lies were a reflection of their own hearts. Have you ever noticed that the ones who accuse you the most are often the ones hiding the most? The things they said about you were merely projections of their own flaws, their own insecurities, and their own deceit. The Bible tells us in Luke 8:17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, nor is anything secret that will not be made known. Have you ever been in a situation where you were falsely accused and the lies seemed to spiral out of control? It's like the enemy thought they could keep you down with their schemes, but the truth is, God's light always exposes what is hidden in the darkness. The more they lied, the clearer the truth became. What they thought were masterful plans to ruin you were nothing but seeds of their own downfall. Have you ever witnessed someone's actions turn against them? What they meant for your destruction has only paved the way for their own unraveling. Their lies didn't take root in you. They took root in their own hearts, and now they will be the ones who suffer the consequences. They underestimated your strength. They didn't realize that you were not alone in this fight. They underestimated God's protection over your life. He has been with you, shielding you from the harm they intended, and now He will bring His justice. Psalm 34:7 says, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him, and He delivers them." The enemy may have thought they had you cornered, but the Lord's protection has been around you the entire time, keeping you safe from their traps. And then, after all their dirty deeds, they flipped the script. Have you ever had someone turn everything around and make you look like the one at fault? The same people who wronged you, who plotted against you and tried to destroy everything you've worked for, became the ones crying foul. They suddenly became the victims, spinning the narrative so expertly that some people might have even believed them. It's like watching a sly person set a fire and then pretend they're the ones who got burned. They twisted the story to make you look like the problem, to make you seem unreasonable. And they did it so well that it almost made you question yourself. How many times have you been in a situation where you were wrongly blamed and you felt like you were losing control of the truth? But chosen ones, don't be fooled. God has already seen the truth, and His justice will be swift. He knows exactly what's been done in secret, and no one can escape His righteous judgment. Remember the story of Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife. And yet, despite all of this, he was eventually elevated to a position of power where he could see justice unfold. God sees the heart of man, and in the end the wicked will not prosper. Proverbs 12:19 tells us, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Their lies may have caused temporary confusion, but in the end, truth will prevail, and they will have to face the consequences of their actions. Have you ever felt like the truth was slipping away from you, like the lies were drowning out your voice? Rest assured, God is the ultimate truth teller, and those who seek to twist the narrative and deceive others will find that their schemes come to an end. In Isaiah 54:17, it says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." No matter how much they try to manipulate the situation, God has already spoken His word over you. Their deceit will not stand. Chosen ones, here's a truth you must hold on to. God saw every bit of their deception. Even when they worked tirelessly to convince others of their innocence, God knew their hearts. They were masters of manipulation, skilled in the art of deception. Every move they made was calculated, not just to harm you, but to position themselves as the victim. In their twisted version of reality, they painted themselves as the ones wronged, the ones unjustly suffering, all while casting you as the antagonist in a story you didn't even write. Have you ever felt like you were caught in someone's false narrative, where they twisted the truth so expertly that others believed them? They succeeded in creating a false image, making it seem as though they were the ones enduring hardship, while you were left to bear the weight of their lies. It may have worked for a while. People bought into their story, and for a time it seemed like you were left standing alone, with your reputation shattered and your name dragged through the mud. But chosen ones, do not be deceived. God sees beyond what others see, and he sees the truth. While they were busy painting their facade, pretending to be innocent, God wasn't fooled by their games. He sees intentions, not just actions. He looks at the heart, not just the outward appearance. You see, they may have been able to deceive others, but God always knew the truth of their hearts. Psalm 139:2 says, "You know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar." God knew every calculated move they made, every lie they told, and every betrayal they committed against you. While they were busy playing the victim, God knew who was truly responsible for the pain and chaos. Does it ever feel like you're trapped in a storm of lies, where the world turns against you and no one seems to see the truth? It's in these moments that you must remember this. God never left your side. Even when you felt abandoned, even when it seemed like everyone was against you, God was always there, watching over you, documenting every injustice done to you. Every tear you shed, every silent prayer you whispered, he heard it all. He was with you, gathering your tears as a testimony against your enemies. Now, here's the part you need to remember. God is not a passive observer. He is a God of justice, and when his chosen ones are attacked, he does not stand idly by. Do you believe that God's justice will prevail, no matter how long it takes? It may have felt like you were alone in the storm, with no one on your side, but God was already moving behind the scenes. What you thought was a season of silence, when it seemed like nothing was happening, was actually a season of preparation. Psalm 37:6 tells us, "He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun." God was preparing to flip the script, to expose every lie and turn every false narrative on its head. He was getting ready to vindicate you, and in the process, you will come out stronger than before. While they tried to bury you under their lies, God was planting seeds of justice. It may not have felt like it in the moment, but God was working. The enemy may have thought they had the upper hand, but what they didn't know was that God's timing was perfect. Have you ever experienced a moment where everything suddenly fell into place and the truth came to light in the most unexpected way? That's what God was preparing for you. The moment when the truth would be exposed and your enemies would see the consequences of their actions. In those quiet, lonely moments when you wondered if anyone was truly on your side, God was at work. While you stood in the midst of betrayal and confusion, unsure of who to trust, God was placing the right people in your life, those who would see through the lies, those who would stand beside you when the truth finally came to light. Isn't it amazing how God, in his perfect timing, always provides the right support when we need it most? Your enemies thought they were clever, thinking they could carry out their schemes without anyone noticing. But what they didn't realize was that nothing escapes God's view. He saw everything. He witnessed every betrayal, every manipulation, every deceitful move. And now, it is only a matter of time before his divine justice is revealed. Psalm 33:13-15 reminds us, "The Lord looks from heaven. He sees all the children of man. From where he sits enthroned, he looks out on all the inhabitants of the earth. He who fashions the hearts of them all and observes all their deeds." You may have wondered why it seemed like nothing was happening, why it felt like you were being unfairly attacked. But trust that God never missed a moment. His eyes are always on his chosen ones, and he is preparing to move on your behalf. Their attacks weren't just random acts of cruelty. They were calculated, fueled by something deep and destructive: jealousy. They saw your light, your potential, and it terrified them. Have you ever felt that fear in others when they see the greatness in you that they can't comprehend? They couldn't handle the power that God had placed inside of you. Instead of working on their own growth and development, they focused their energy on trying to dim your light. Jealousy is a powerful force, And when they realized they couldn't compete with your spirit, they tried to pull you down. But here's the truth. It was never about what you did wrong. The root of their anger was not in anything you had done, but in their own insecurities. The truth is, they envied everything you represented. Your strength, your resilience, your unwavering faith. You didn't have to pretend to be someone you weren't. You walked in your purpose without apology, and that threatened them. They couldn't bear to see you rise, to see you excel in ways they felt they never could. Every victory you had was a reminder of their own limitations, and instead of confronting their flaws, they chose to attack you. Their jealousy was a reflection of their own internal turmoil. Your spirit made them uncomfortable because it exposed their darkness. Isn't it often true that when you walk in the light, those around you with hidden insecurities become uneasy? They couldn't understand why, despite all their efforts to bring you down, you continued to rise. The truth they failed to see is that your greatness wasn't something you could create on your own. It was God-given, something they could never take away from you. They thought they could snuff out your flame, but in trying to do so, all they did was make it burn brighter. Now, in their twisted minds, they believed they were untouchable. They thought they could do whatever they wanted, and no one would ever catch on to their schemes. Have you ever encountered someone who thought they were above the law, acting as if there would never be consequences for their actions? They operated behind closed doors, believing they could manipulate situations and people to their advantage without anyone noticing. They even convinced themselves that God himself wouldn't notice their evil deeds. But let me tell you this, chosen ones, God does not miss a thing. Nothing is hidden from his sight, especially when it comes to his chosen ones. Jeremiah 16:17 says, "For my eyes are on all their ways. They are not hidden from me, nor is their iniquity concealed from my eyes." There is no hiding from God. They may have thought they were above reproach, but their arrogance will be their downfall. They reveled in a false sense of power, believing they could manipulate circumstances without facing any consequences. Doesn't it seem like the enemy often grows most arrogant right before their fall? They look down on you, thinking they could outsmart you, and even outsmart God. Their arrogance made them believe they were immune to accountability, but soon they will realize the truth. God is just, and no one escapes his judgment. Chosen ones, the season of their manipulation is coming to an end. Justice is on the horizon, and it will be revealed in ways that only God can orchestrate. Do you believe that God's justice will rise when all seems lost? Hold fast, because what God is preparing for you will not only expose the lies, but will also reveal your victory. They will see that no one can outsmart God, and in the end, he will lift you higher than they ever expected. Stay strong, for your season of justice is drawing near. Chosen ones, never forget this truth. God humbles the proud. For a time, your enemies may have felt untouchable, as though they could do no wrong. They walked with heads held high in arrogance, thinking their schemes would never be discovered. But God sees it all, and he's always ready to expose what is hidden. The very lies they built their world upon are now crumbling, and with every passing moment, their false sense of superiority is shattering. The time has come for them to face reality, the time when the truth can no longer be hidden. Isaiah 2:11 says, "The eyes of the arrogant will be humbled, and human pride brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day." The pride that they once held as their shield is now their downfall. The masks they wore to cover their true intentions have begun to slip. They thought they could hide behind their lies forever, but God has a way of pulling back the curtain and exposing everything in due time. What they thought would never catch up to them is now unfolding before their eyes. They may have believed that they could continue to deceive others, but the consequences of their actions are beginning to catch up with them. God's justice is inevitable, and those who walk in arrogance will face it sooner or later. The truth is out, and those who once lived in a fantasy are now seeing their world crumble. Have you ever witnessed someone's downfall when their lies were exposed? It's a humbling experience, one that serves as a reminder of God's perfect justice. And now, the time has come for you to rise, chosen ones. While they struggle to keep up their appearances, you are stepping into a new realm, a realm where truth reigns and where your power is undeniable. This is the moment to embrace who you truly are. The obsidian inner circle, powered by astral atom, is where the real chosen ones gather. Here, we rise above the illusions that once held us back. While the world may be crumbling around us, we are standing strong, walking in our divine calling. In this circle, there's no place for pretending, no more false superiority, no more living behind masks. Here, we are stepping into the realm of authenticity, where truth is not just something we believe, but something we live by. We're not waiting for change, we're creating it. We are equipped to manifest our destiny and to live without the shackles of lies that once bound us. In this space, you will find uncensored content, exclusive insights, and powerful manifestation techniques that will transform your life. Are you ready to leave behind the falsehoods and step into a life of power? Are you ready to embrace the truth, to rise above the pretense, and live the life you were always meant to live? The inner circle is where you belong if you're ready to claim your divine inheritance. We're not just talking about change, we're living it, and you can be a part of this powerful shift. Matthew 23:12 reminds us, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." As the prideful fall, you, the humble, will rise. God's hand is on your life, and He is preparing you for something greater than you've ever imagined. While they're falling apart, you're rising stronger than ever. The lies they told about you have only served to propel you into the greatness God has for you. The tables have turned, and now, as their schemes crumble, they are beginning to feel the weight of their actions. What they thought they could get away with is now coming back on them in full force. Their plans are unraveling, and the truth is exposing everything they tried to hide. People are seeing through their lies, and the support they once had is fading. Their world is crumbling, and they are realizing that messing with God's chosen ones was their biggest mistake. Proverbs 11:5 says, "The righteousness of the blameless will direct their paths, but the wicked will fall by their own wickedness." They may have thought they could deceive the world, but the truth has a way of finding its way to the surface. Their deceit is no longer working, and the very web they spun is collapsing. Their rude awakening has arrived, and it's coming in waves. As they fall, you will rise, stronger, wiser, and more empowered than ever before. The link is in the description. If you're ready to step into your divine calling, to embrace your truth, and to leave the illusions behind, join us today. Together, we will ascend higher than they ever imagined. The time is now. We are waiting for you. What they once relied on, manipulation, deception, and arrogance, has become their downfall. They thought these tactics would shield them from the truth, but God's justice has a way of finding its way to the surface. What they once thought was their strength is now the very thing unraveling their lives. The grip they believed they had is slipping, and now the world is no longer fooled by their false narratives. The chaos they worked so hard to impose on you is now their own undoing. The consequences they once believed they could evade are now closing in on them. What they intended for your destruction has now become the source of their own suffering. Their rude awakening isn't just about the consequences they're facing in the physical world. It's deeper than that. It's the realization that they messed with someone who is divinely protected. They thought they could attack you and walk away unscathed, but now they are learning the hard way that God's chosen ones are untouchable. Psalms 34:19 reminds us, "The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all." You may have faced trials, but God has always had his hand on your life. And now they're realizing that they cannot fight against God's protection and come out victorious. These people may have thought they could escape the consequences of their actions, but now their minds are in turmoil. The peace they once had has been replaced by mental chaos. They can't sleep at night, constantly replaying their actions in their heads, wondering how things went so wrong. Every time they close their eyes, they are confronted by the haunting reality of what they did to you. What they thought would go unnoticed is now eating them alive. Their guilt is like a shadow that follows them everywhere they go, no matter how hard they try to ignore it. It torments them relentlessly. The very betrayal they committed against you has become their prison. They are facing their own inner demons, those feelings of guilt and shame that they thought they could bury. But nothing stays hidden forever. Galatians 6:7 warns us, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Their actions are now sowing the seeds of torment in their own hearts. No matter how much they try to distract themselves or put on a brave face, their conscience is their prison. It's a cage they can't escape. They are reaping the consequences of their betrayal, and no matter how they try to escape the weight of their guilt, it's always there, a reminder of the hurt they caused. What they thought would never catch up to them is now the very thing they cannot escape. Their guilt is a direct result of their betrayal, and now they must live with the consequences, both internal and external. They thought they were free, but in reality, they've walked right into their own prison. And what does this mean for you, the chosen one? It means that you have been protected by the hand of God. It means that the justice you've been waiting for is not just in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual. God is removing the mask and exposing those who sought to harm you. Psalm 37:28 reminds us, "For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones." God will never forsake you. His protection surrounds you. And while they face their torment, you are being lifted up and prepared for the next step in your journey. Every lie they told, every time they twisted the truth, it's all coming back to them in ways they never imagined. They thought they could hide behind deception, but what they failed to understand is that no matter how cleverly they tried to cover their tracks, God sees all. They might have hidden their actions from others, but they can never hide from themselves. Their conscience is relentless, reminding them constantly of the pain and destruction they caused. The more they try to suppress it, the louder it becomes, reverberating in their minds, dragging them into the depths of regret. They're trapped in their own minds, unable to escape the consequences of their choices. No mask can shield them from the truth they are now facing. They thought they could move on, as if nothing happened, as if their wickedness would go unnoticed. But their actions have become haunting reminders, pulling them back into the mess they created. Their guilt is now their constant companion, following them like a shadow, creeping into every corner of their life. They may try to put on a brave face in front of others, but behind closed doors, they are crumbling, their peace slipping further away, leaving only the relentless weight of their own wrongdoings. Every sleepless night, every moment of deep regret is a painful reminder that they can't outrun the spiritual and emotional consequences of what they've done. They thought they could hurt you and continue with their lives as though nothing was amiss. But God won't allow their wickedness to prosper spiritually. The divine law of sowing and reaping has caught up with them. Psalm 7:9 says, "Oh, let the evil of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just." The reality is that their spiritual growth is now stunted. They're spiritually stuck, unable to move forward. Every time they tried to tear you down, they were unknowingly building their own prison. And while they remain stuck, you are rising, growing, thriving, and progressing in ways they never expected. They are left behind in the past, trapped in a cycle of stagnation. This stagnation is not only spiritual, it seeps into every area of their life. Their relationships are faltering, their ambitions have stalled, and what once seemed like a clear path now feels like a fog. Every step they take is a struggle, and they don't understand why nothing seems to be working out. But the answer is simple. You can't sow destruction and expect to harvest blessings. Their personal lives, their career, their entire existence is now paralyzed because they have sowed evil seeds. God's divine justice works in ways they never saw coming. Jeremiah 17:10 tells us, "I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve." They are receiving exactly what they deserve. A standstill, a deadlock in their journey because of their actions. What they don't realize is that this stagnation isn't just a coincidence, it is divine justice. God has blocked every avenue of progress until they face the truth of their betrayal. While you ascend, they are stuck watching from the sidelines. They once thought they were building success, but in reality, they were constructing their own walls, trapping themselves in a prison of spiritual and emotional stagnation. Their actions were a boomerang. They may have intended to harm you, but they're the ones who will feel the full force of their choices. Every lie they told, every betrayal they committed is coming full circle. They are facing the consequences of their actions in the form of illness, financial ruin, and deep regret. They thought they could escape their karmic debt, but the truth is, karma doesn't miss. When they went after God's chosen, they set themselves up for a disastrous fall. Now, they're living in the mess they created, and there's no escape until they confront their karma. And here's the painful truth about karma. It doesn't always show up in the ways they expect. It doesn't hit where they thought they were safe. It shows up in the areas that matter most to them, the places they thought would always be secure. Their finances are slipping through their fingers. Opportunities they thought they owned are evaporating, and their relationships are crumbling. Every time they tried to harm you, they unknowingly planted the seeds of their own destruction. What they sowed in malice, they are now reaping in suffering. Karma is unforgiving. It doesn't make deals. It doesn't compromise. It comes like a wave. And once it starts, it doesn't stop until the full weight of their actions has been realized. What they thought was their victory, their effort to break you, has become the very force that is now breaking them. What they thought they could control, they now realize, is beyond their grasp. They wanted to tear you apart, but in the end, they've only torn apart their own lives. They believed that by attacking you, they could disrupt your purpose. But what they didn't realize was that their actions were simply fulfilling the divine plan for your life. They thought they could steal your peace, but instead, they became instruments that propelled you into greater heights. Every strike they aimed at you, every attempt to break your spirit, was an opportunity for God to fortify you. They underestimated the power of the Almighty. They believed their lies would overshadow your truth. But God's truth is always stronger. They couldn't understand that you weren't alone in this fight. Behind every attack, every betrayal, stood a force greater than anything they could ever comprehend. God's hand was with you, guiding you through the storm, and because of that, you never truly fell. They couldn't break you because God's strength was more than enough to hold you up. While they focused on tearing you down, God was building you up. In their eyes, you may have seemed vulnerable, but in God's eyes, you were always a warrior. They tried to break your faith, but your faith only deepened. Every challenge they threw your way became the stepping stone for your personal growth. What they thought would destroy you only served to transform you into the person God always intended you to be. And now, as they struggle with the consequences of their own actions, you stand tall, unshaken, unmovable, and more determined than ever to fulfill your divine purpose. They are facing the results of their decisions, trapped in the prison they built for themselves, while you are soaring higher, free from their reach. Their attempts to harm you were not only ineffective, but were used by God to propel you into a future filled with blessings, favor, and victory. The peace you now experience is not just the absence of turmoil. It is the manifestation of God's favor over your life. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that comes only when you trust fully in God's protection and plan. While they suffer from their own mistakes, you are resting in the assurance that God's will is being fulfilled in your life. Their lies, their deception, their evil intent, all of it has come to nothing. And now you stand as a testament to God's faithfulness. Your light is shining brighter than ever before. They thought they could dim it, but all they did was fan the flames. Now your light is undeniable, and it serves as a beacon of hope to others who are struggling. You are walking in the fullness of your purpose, and the enemy's attempts to break you have only served to amplify your power. As they look on, they will witness the greatness that was always inside you, a greatness they tried to suppress but could never extinguish. The story of your rise is a reminder that no weapon formed against God's chosen will prosper. They might have tried, but God's plan is unstoppable. Every time they tried to pull you back, God pushed you forward. Now, you walk in divine alignment, surrounded by favor, and your purpose is unfolding in ways they could never have imagined. You are the living proof that when God's hand is upon you, nothing can stand against you. Let go of the weight that their negativity placed on your heart. What they tried to impose upon you, their bitterness, hatred, and deceit, no longer has any claim on you. It's time to release the pain, the anger, and the bitterness that their actions left behind. God has already handled what they meant for your harm, and now you stand free, unshackled from their darkness. Your future is a bright light ahead of you, and it is far too precious to be dimmed by the shadows of your past. You have been chosen for greatness, and that purpose is far too important to allow the weight of their wrongs to hinder your journey. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrongs they've done. It's about choosing to release their grip on your spirit. When you forgive, you free yourself from the hold their actions have had over you. You're not excusing their behavior, but you are declaring that their past harm will not define your future. Your growth, your purpose, and your divine calling demand that you move forward, unburdened by the bitterness of past betrayals. You are meant for greater things, and the heaviness they tried to place upon you has no place in the future that God is preparing for you. As you release the past, you will find that your elevation accelerates. The more you let go, the higher you rise. The chains that once bound you are now broken, and with every step you take away from the past, your purpose comes into clearer view. You don't have to worry about those who sought to harm you. God has already handled them, and their actions no longer have any power over you. They are already reaping what they sowed while you are moving forward, basking in the favor that only comes from God. Your future is no longer tied to their evil deeds. You have been faithful, even in the face of their wickedness, and now God is rewarding you. Your strength and unwavering faith in Him have not gone unnoticed. Every trial, every attack, has only served to elevate you in His eyes. What they meant for your downfall, God has used to propel you higher. Every challenge they sent your way was designed to make you stronger, and now you are reaping the benefits of your perseverance. Their evil cannot stop what God has in store for you. God's rewards for your faithfulness are already overflowing. Every moment of hardship you endured, every tear you shed, has been met with divine blessings that are beyond what you could have imagined. Your faith remained unshaken, and now God is honoring that faith. Abundance is flowing into your life, abundance in peace, in opportunities, and in spiritual growth. What they tried to steal from you, God is restoring tenfold. The doors they tried to close in your face are now wide open, and no one can shut them. God's favor is resting upon you, and you are living in the fulfillment of His promises. The best is still yet to come. Keep walking in faith, because God's rewards are far greater than anything the enemy tried to take from you. Your victory is already assured, and the fullness of His blessings will continue to unfold before you. Chosen ones never for a moment doubt God's justice. Though they may have tried to play the victim, to twist the truth and paint themselves as innocent, remember this: God saw it all. He saw every lie, every betrayal, every attempt to destroy your spirit, and He is the ultimate judge. His justice may not always come in our timing, but make no mistake, it is always perfect and certain. As you continue to rise, know that their downfall is already written. They may think they've escaped, that their manipulation will go unnoticed, but God's hand is moving behind the scenes, ensuring that their actions will be brought to light. Their time is coming. Psalm 37:28 reminds us, "For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake His faithful ones." You are His faithful one, chosen and protected, and He will never forsake you. So, stay focused on your path. Don't let their lies, their manipulation, or their false narratives cloud your vision. Keep your heart pure, rooted in faith, and trust in God's timing. Your victory is already secured. Just as God lifted Joseph from the pit to the palace, He will elevate you above your enemies. You are rising, and with each step, they will continue to fall. Trust that the best is yet to come, and as you walk in divine favor, watch how God moves in ways that will leave you in awe. Your story isn't over, it's only just beginning. Stay faithful, stay strong, and know that God's justice will always prevail. He has already guaranteed your victory.